Humans of the cardboard, welcome back to Just Nuts, guys. Today I am going in and I'm doing some testing. I have the day off. I wanted to mess around with Melodious early. To be honest, I don't really have a deck that I am loving right now in this current format, but there's a couple decks coming in with support soon that I do have my eye on, and one of them is definitely Melodious. I've made that point pretty clear over the last couple weeks/months. I really like the new support. I like the way the deck plays. I'm actually really excited to mess around with it when they get those in Legacy of Destruction. But today I was messing around with it on my own. I literally didn't watch any combo tutorials, but I messed around. I found this combo. This combo's really, really cool in my opinion. So this is a 1.5 card combo. It's Ostinato with literally any discard. Doesn't matter what the discard is. I just tried to pick the most useless card in the deck, which is another Ostinato once you resolve the first one, because it can only be used while you have no monsters. But the really cool part about this is this combo is 1.5 cards, and you basically beat Droll and Nib, basically the two most impactful hand traps in the format, because all the other hand traps you'd have to worry about are just like those 1-for-1, Ashes, Imperms, Veilers, all that stuff is totally dealable with by just opening any one extra engine card basically in this deck. So I'm not that worried about those. I'm just worried about getting shut down by the big heavy duty hand traps, i.e. Droll and Nib. So let's get into it. I want to show this, and then I'm going to show you a really early deck build of the deck, and I want to go over that real quick, especially yesterday, checking out the OCG builds of Melodious that have gotten small tops so far for them, taking some notes there and kind of extrapolating that to what I would want for the TCG, hopefully. So I'll get an early showing on that, but of course the format's going to be different then anyway, but I still think it's fun to get a head start here. So let's get into this combo here. First off, obviously you're going to activate Ostinato. This card is going to basically just should all fusion, right? Send your names from deck to just fusion summon. We're going to make Baka. This card's insane. On summon, it summons a Melodious from deck, and if it's sent to the graveyard, you reborn a Melodious from grave. This card is absolutely insane as an engine fusion, and your Melodious fusion monsters activated effects cannot be negated while you control this card, so your opponent cannot negate either of its effects while it's on the field. So really, really broken. If your opponent just doesn't have Ash for this, they can't even Imperm or Veiler this, I believe. Let me know if that is wrong ruling wise, but I believe that's how it works. So anyway, here's what we're sending. I'm sending Sonata, and I'm sending a copy of Refrain. Just want to get these in rotation. This actually doesn't matter that it actually does matter that this one is engraved, but you'll see that later on. Okay, so we're going to use for those. We're going to get those engraved. That matters. We're going to go ahead and trigger our Baka, and we're going to summon a Refrain from deck. So we're sending one Refrain from deck to fuse, then we're also sending the first one, summoning the second one. Sorry. I don't want to confuse anybody. Okay, so Refrain on summon is our Stratos, and so this is our Droll moment. We're getting drolled here, of course, but it is what it is. We don't really need to search for the rest of the turn. We have a normal summoned, and we're searching our normal summon in Soprano. I really like Soprano in this deck. Some of the deck lists I saw from the OCG do not play to Soprano. I actually think that might be a mistake, because I think it's actually a pretty decent normal summon anyway. So I kind of like Soprano. But anyway, this card's really good. On special, it adds a Melodious from grave back to hand, and just main phase, non-once per turn, not hard once per turn. You can fusion using Melodious as you control. You'll see that in full use here. So we're going to normal summon Soprano. We're going to use our effect to fuse using all 3 monsters on field to make a Toil as early as possible. This is the key to Nib, because if you just set this card up as your 5th summon or earlier, you basically dodge Nib to an extent. You can't completely dodge it, depending on where they fire it, as long as they're smart about when they're using it. You can't completely dodge Nib. They're going to keep some stuff from you from ending on your full setup, but you still at least keep this and all the bodies that you had on field. So it feels like a very lackluster Nibiru situation. Also keep in mind, Refrain is going to the extra deck because it was used from the field, because it's a pendulum. So we are going to go ahead and trigger some stuff. We're going to use the Fusion Engrave to reborn Soprano, and we're also going to use Refrain's effect to put herself back into the scale, because a fusion, we fusion summoned basically a Melodious monster. So that's just more value later on down the line. Because we have a fusion spell in the deck that can use her as material from the scale. We won't do it this turn because we're drolled, but we can use it next turn. So we're going to get Soprano back, and then we're going to go ahead and add back, use Soprano's effect on summon to add back the Sonata Engraved. Sonata just specials if you control a Melodious. So that's why we sent it early, to get it in rotation, because we've already normaled at this point. And then we're going to go ahead and link those two off into Bloom. Bloom's the insane link monster in this archetype. It's basically one card combo if it ever resolves. Let me try and move this over so we can... Oh, never mind. I have it cut off. That's my B. Hold on. Hold the phone. Can I... There we go. So... basically Bloom, what Bloom does is on link summon, you discard a card for cost and then summon two different leveled Melodious monsters from your deck. In defense missions, to zones it points to, very broken. You can't use this card if you special summon anything that's not Melodious for the turn, so pretty brutal lock, but there's no denying that resolution is insane on this card. Okay, so we're making this. We're going to summon two cards. We need just the discard for that. We're going to go ahead and summon these. Shapina, Melodious Maestra, and the second copy of Soprano, because Soprano not once per turn, not hard once per turn at least, on that fusion effect, only on the add back effect. So we're going to summon both of those, and then Shapina, if you don't know, can just add any light fairy monster from grave back to hand. More often than not, that's going to be a Melodious, but don't sleep on the fact that this can just add back something like Herald of Orange Light, which I really do think could be really strong in the deck. We'll get to that in the deck build, though. We're actually looking at that stuff. So we're going to use Shapina real quick. We're going to grab back the normal summon, the Refrain. She's the best normal summon in the deck, so that's one card combo next turn, even if our whole board gets decimated, which it probably won't because this card's so good at dodging stuff. And then we're going to go ahead and use Shapina's fusion effect again and end on a Schuberta to end it all out. So basically, if your opponent was smart, they would have nibbed as soon as you summoned Shapina and Soprano off of Bloom, because their main phase effects, they're not trigger, or Shapina's at least, both the effects you would have used, the fusion and the add back, are both main phase effect, not on summon effects, so they would keep us from getting that one card back, and they'd keep us from getting to Schuberta, because Schuberta is a quick effect, banish 3 from your opponent's grave. Very, very strong. Very, very strong versus graveyard decks. But you would still be able to tag out. You wouldn't lose those monsters because you would just activate, you would just chain a Toil to Nib, you would banish all 4, they're all going to come back on end phase, and then you have nothing to worry about at that point, right? You're just chilling, because you're going to come back and you're going to have a quadruple bounce still set up off of your Toil. Not to mention, you keep Shapina coming back, which means Shapina is just going to add something back on your next main phase just to get that, and that's there you go. There's combo again. You're getting Soprano back, hopefully, and then Soprano, that just means she's going to be able to fusion summon to get you like going with your engine again next turn. Bloom's kind of dead once she resolves. She's just kind of a fusion material at that point, but still worth mentioning. But yeah, so basically under Droll completely, and then Nib, you're still getting solid value under Nib overall. I really think this combo is really cool. I really think this highlights like one of the keys of this deck, and that's to me, this deck kind of reminds me of two different decks that I can think of. Melodious, in that Marincess, in that it has very efficient like 1 and 2 card combos that end you with like almost as much follow-up as you put into the combo in the first place. Maybe not quite as recursive as them, but I also think you're ending on stronger interaction, and I also think you play through interaction better than Marincess overall, because you have so many ways to just like, oh, you asked me here, you interrupted me here, I have this card in hand, and this one other engine card like helps you get there. And I just think the interruptions the deck ends on are much more powerful. They end on like a Spell or Trap Negate and like the Imperm effect normally, if I'm not mistaken. I guess it depends on the build. They can end on some other stuff potentially, but normally that's what Marincess sets up. You're ending on like a non-targeting like multi-bounce, like up to 3 or 4 cards at once, and you're ending on a triple DD Crow, which in modern Yu-Gi-Oh! Like every deck plays from grave. So this card is really annoying for a lot of decks, especially because this deck wants to grind, and that's how the best decks in the deck in Yu-Gi-Oh! Grind now is like Snake Eye. They get all their stuff engraved. That's all the resources they're going to be able to pull into later on in the duel. But if you just start clearing all their cards, you clear the Princess, you clear their one Flamberge potentially, the Garunix, you can put them in a real bind to grind or even combo in the first place. So I really like that as well. I think the deck's actually really in really good position. So let's go ahead and go back here. Let's go to our decks and let's check out the list I have here. Again, this is not anything concrete. This is just me getting started here early, based off of what I saw in the OCG the other day. But looking at the list here, the one Shapina, this is a brick. You don't want to draw it. But the nice thing is Bloom, at least, is discards for cost. So you can always kind of pitch something that you don't want in hand. Couplet, this is a card I didn't use because in most droll scenarios, this card's not ideal. But basically, if it's, you can scale it and then just add the fusion. Unfortunately, this is the only search target at the moment that's any playable. But it's still good enough to make this card good because it helps you beat interaction. Like if I go normal summon, my normal summon, it gets negated and I just hard open this. I just scale it, add the fusion, and the fusion allows you to use your scales as fusion material. So boom, you just beat a hand trap just by opening an extra card. Arya, this card can be part of your M board sometimes. While she's on the field, special summoned, Melodious monsters can't be targeted or destroyed by they can't be destroyed by battle or targeted by card effects. That's pretty good. There's a lot of cards that's going to really annoy by being able to end on that for sure. So it's kind of a one-off bricky card, but like it makes some board states like way easier to handle. Refrain, she's your main starter now for the monsters. Really good card. Cannon, she just jumps out of the hand if you control Melodious. Soprano, I talked about this in the combo. I really like two of this. I showed you in that combo. If I didn't have two of that, you're not ending on that same type of M board through Nib and Droll. So I don't know. I like that a lot. And then 3 Sonata, she is basically Cannon. She jumps out of the hand, but she's way better because she's not once per turn at all. And when she's special summoned, all Melodiouses you control gain 500, 500, and that's not once per turn either. So if you're able to like summon 2 or God forbid even 3, they themselves are going to be 2,700 apiece, which is already, I believe, 8,100. So just being able to special summon all 3 of these, and that's if you didn't even control another Melodious, right? If you have something like you're a Toil, she's already 28, so she's going to be what, 43 on top of that, and you basically are able to OTK or run over certain boards because of this card sometimes. It's really nice. And then for your starters, 3 first movement solo just summons one of your Melodiouses from deck, really strong. Also not once per turn, so Ash on these you actually, oh sorry, this one is actually once per turn. Ostinato is not. So opening them together or opening 2 Ostinato is actually really strong into Ash, whereas first movement solo is a little more annoying. But if they hard negate it, you can activate a second copy, which is cool. 1 Melodious Concerto. This is the new fusion. It's really good. Lets you use your scales as material, and it lets you draw a card and put itself back in the deck. So it rotates itself, which makes it a really nice one-of in the deck. Prosperity, just consistency stuff, just helping us play through interaction, make sure we're opening our like better starters more often. I don't love that this card plays into Droll a little bit more because we showed you like Ostinato, but if you like Prosperity into Ostinato and then get Drolled, you're in a much tougher position. You're not dead in the water necessarily, but it's still not good. You're not in a good position for sure. So just keep that in mind. You can still get to a Toil, I think, through that, but you don't get to end on like as much follow-up, I think. Herald of Orange Light, I think this card is like really interesting. We're already on, this is 17 fairies in the deck, including itself, so this card should be pretty damn live, and I think I've talked to people and they're like, if Gamma was at 3, a lot of people would be playing Gamma. Well, this is kind of like Gamma, just some different trade-offs. You don't have to play the terrible brick, but this card costs 2 cards in hand, and plus you also don't have to work around the restriction of only being able to use it if you control no monsters. So that on top of the fact that it's a light fairy, so your engine is able to recycle this. This is like that Salamangreat-esque, like, oh, we're able to recycle one of the best hand traps in the game kind of thing, is really cool. And then just a bunch of generic hand traps you're probably used to seeing, but really the thing to show off here is 16 defensive slots. For sure, it seems insane, right? So whether you want to play board breakers, you just need to be weary that this deck locks you hard. Almost every turn goes through Bloom, and so when you go through Bloom, you cannot special the entire turn anything but Melodiouses. So you can't play Fenrir, you can't play Super Poly, right? Like you can't play those cards because once you use them, you're locking yourself out of one of your best engine cards, unfortunately. So you can't even Kaiju or Lava Golem or Kurikar. You can't use any of those because that's a you special summoning. And so that's really tough. So we have to be deck building and making sure we're on top of playing the best cards we can, even under those restrictions. We're losing a lot of potential choices there. So yeah, keep that in mind. Then into the extra deck, I'm going pretty hard on just the Melodious cards because we're on like Prosperity, so if I'm banishing, just banish some of them, I guess. But and also as I went through it, there's not much utility you can find elsewhere outside that like this deck can do, because like I said, Bloom locks you so hard. But anyway, Flowering of Toil, this card is insane. It's a really good boss monster. Once you get to this, you literally take like a sigh of relief, because this card is so hard to deal with inevitably. Your opponent either has to like force this card's interruption out and then OTK you, or have a negate already set up, so that way when like you try to fire it, they can just stop it entirely. It's brutal. It really is. This card is really, really threatening and hard to deal with. 3 Baka, the Melodious Maestro. This card's an insane fusion engine card, right? Like it's an E-Telly and then also a Reborn out of one fusion card, and you have so many one card plays that get you into it. So this card's amazing. Schuberta, really, really good against those graveyard decks. Really nice utility. And the one thing to keep in mind synergistically with this card is that even though it has the Barone kind of like restriction on it, where you can only use its effect once while it's face up on the field, the idea is you summon it next to a Toil, so that way you use it to banish a bunch of your opponent's graveyard, then you use a Toil banishing both, and then when Schuberta comes back, she's left the field and come back now, so she is live again to keep banishing stuff over and over. That's the idea. And then these guys, these are both kind of interesting cards. They could come up in like specific scenarios. This one, I guess, like sort of in time and to potentially out something that's weird. So this card can't be destroyed by battle or card effects. That's also annoying for certain decks. And you take no battle damage from attacks involving it. And then if it battles a special summon monster, you inflict the difference to your opponent, and then you destroy that monster after that. So it's able to get damage on your opponent, able to out something maybe really big and annoying with a non-targeting destruction. It could come up. And then the other one, Bloom, this one's more for like OTKing. I think that it might just be fine at OTKing regardless, but this card is still interesting. It gains 300 for every fusion material used for it, so it's going to be at least 25, if not bigger, and it can attack twice. So it's going to do at least 5k, and then if you have like one Sonata with it, it's going to do 6k, plus this is going to be 17. So Sonata plus her, just alone, is 77. It's not quite OTK, but like... it's right there around the corner, and then like any other monster basically is going to do it in. And then also, if she's sent to the graveyard after being fusion summoned, you can just add a Melodious from grave back to hand. So that's also solid value as well. 3 Bloom. This is kind of like the Isold thing, like or Hockey Fibrex when we used to play that. You want more than one for sure, because if your game plan is make this and this gets negated, you need a second one to be able to make next turn to survive, to have a chance next turn at connecting into a combo. And then the last card, the only non-Melodious I play in the extra, is Chaos Angel. Card's actually nasty in this deck because the light protection is actually way better than the dark protection. He's already 35, so making him immune to battle isn't that huge. But the light means he's unaffected by all activated monster effects activated by your opponent. So getting that removal of like a banish and then also a 35 beater that's like really hard to out now for like a lot of decks actually is valuable, and especially since you have like one card plays that get you into this, because you have this fusion is level 7, so you can just make Bacha summon Refrain, and then Refrain search Sonata, and then special Sonata, and then Baka and Sonata make Chaos Angel banish a card. Then he's 35. You still have Refrain, so you have 5,100 damage. And because you sent Baka to grave, she's going to reborn a monster. So you're probably just reborning the Sonata as well, which is going to give you an extra 2,200 damage. So that's 7,300 damage with a banish off of one card, basically, which is pretty cool. And then some side deck stuff that I thought was interesting. The Tamtem engine is really interesting. I'm just not sure it really works. It seems like they didn't really take this card too far into consideration with the new support, because this card just doesn't quite work, I don't think. Maybe I need to mess around with it, but as I tried to, I couldn't really see a super clean connection. But basically, on special, this card adds Poly from deck or grave to hand, not once per turn. And then if it's used as fusion material, you can burn your opponent for 500. So as a time card, I might still play this in the side, just because you can get it really easily to just burn. But I don't know if, like, as a poly searcher, it's really worth. The deck has so many other ways to fuse. I'm just not sure it's mandatory, and, like, you don't want to be drawing regular poly or this card at all. So I'm not sure they're going to make it. Elegy was something in the OCG I saw a lot of lists playing. Basically, all it does is protect all Melodious monsters from card destruction. And all fairy monsters you control gain 300 attack. So just fine. I didn't really get it. I saw this played in some of those lists. I felt like looking at this card, I was like, I'm not so sure that I would want to play another brick like this for like just that little of payoff. I think Arya's protection effects are just better overall, and she's at least normal summonable. So at least her in a hand with like her plus Couplet or her plus Sonata or Cannon actually does like get you there basically. So I felt like that was way better anyway, and I'd rather be ending on her. So I don't know, I didn't get it. The Shizu Shufflers are interesting. I think the biggest thing that makes me not want to play them is just the deck already has Schuberta. So like, what do we need them for? But like, there's no denying that like there could be some utility there. The fact that they would become your immediate best paired cards with Herald of Orange Light. Like we saw that in the Shizu format, being able to pitch like Mudora with Orange Light, negate and destroy a monster, and then still shuffle 3 is like an insane amount of interaction on the opponent's turn, for sure. And like they can be normaled because like that'll still work under Bloom's restriction, to just make Bloom because they're a fairy, with dealing with that, or they can also be discarded off of Bloom's effects. Bloom's discarding every turn basically. So there's decent enough ways to make use of these. I'm just not sure because they still kind of require you to have a hand that plays. So I don't know if I want to hurt consistency in that manner. Droplet I thought was interesting. If there was one board breaker in here that I thought kind of made some cool sense, I thought Droplet made decent sense here. You could cut like something like Veiler's probably the weakest hand trap here to me in the current format. For it, if you like, interesting. Rivalry, just the one of in the side deck probably, just for the matchups that definitely want to summon a bunch of different types. And then these cards, I saw these in some of the Melodious builds in the OCG, and I was just like, in what world are you ever making these and locking yourself out of Bloom for the turn? I was just like, when? Why would you ever make these? Especially if, like, any line where you could make any of these, you could just make Chaos Angel. Like, why would you make Little Knight when you could make Chaos Angel and, like, kill your opponent? So I don't know. I don't get it. But whatever, it's there. Maybe Typhon's another card I would consider. Like, if you get stopped really early in your combo, just to have something to be able to go, like, let me slap a big boy, let me bounce a card, let me attack over something. You know what I mean? And maybe that could work. But maybe Typhon could find a spot in the extra deck. But yeah. So yeah, that's what I have here today, guys. Thank you so much for watching. As always, let me know your thoughts down below. I know we're still early here, and I should probably be more focused on Phantom Nightmare than the next set that seems less impactful than Phantom Nightmare, but I can't help it. This is like an actual deck I want to play. There wasn't anything like really enticing me from Phantom Nightmare. But yeah, we'll see. Let me know your thoughts down below though. Any other suggestions of like cool cards that I'm not considering here, whether it's a board breaker or a defensive card that maybe I should look at that has cool synergy there, an extra deck monster that could come up that I'm not considering, or even side deck cards that make sense, given the restrictions the deck already has. I'd love to hear your guys' thoughts on that stuff, so let me know in the comment section down below. And I'll see you in the next one. Thanks for watching. Peace.